try to meditate stuff, but you tend to have a lot of anxiety and stress.
A lot of anxiety.
And what's his name? Is it Brian? Is he usually pretty patient with you?
Yeah, but it just makes me upset. I know that he definitely gets frustrated with me a lot.
Driver is showing some obscure driving, possibly intoxicated. Currently doing 45 miles an hour. Zone through here is 25. Oh! Subject just hit the curb. Check it out.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 38 of the Positivity Experience. I am your host, Laundrie, and I'm super happy that you're here with me today. It is 68 degrees, beautiful outside, awesome, amazing day for fall, and I'm really hoping that no matter where you are, you guys are finding some joy in the day. Now, this is not typically a true crime podcast, and it's not really going to be a true crime podcast, but there's going to be elements of it. My husband and I have had a true crime podcast. We may revisit that. If that's something that you'd like, feel free to let us know. But it is something that is important to talk about. And I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach versus the actual true crime direction of this case of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. All right, so we are also going to be going through what I feel as though could have possibly been different, and hopefully for people to kind of see that going forward and going ahead with other cases that may or may not come about, and why the mental health aspect of people in general are often overlooked. It is judged. It is dismissed as crazy. Like, oh my God, they're just crazy. Something's wrong with them. They're nuts, you know? And then there's a lot of things with red flags that so many of us, we choose not to see. We see them, but it's hard to see the red flags when you're in the relationship. So one of the many directions that I want to talk about today is going to be signs to look for. Signs for gaslighting, signs for manipulation and narcissism, domestic abuse, and actually also how people handle things and why the importance of self-love. I am not victim blaming. This has nothing to do with them right now. This is me telling you that self-love has got to be the focus in combination with working on your mental health. It is always your responsibility to find that mental health. And sometimes it becomes so problematic when you don't have a support system, or at least you don't think that you have a support system. So very often, sometimes you actually do have a support system, but it seems weird, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I really love this person, or I really want to be with this person. And it becomes problematic, especially when there's mental health involved. Now, unless you've been under a rock, you know, the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case has pretty much been all over. And as far as I know, it's all over the world right now. And it's way in which everybody is talking about it. And that's great because it brings awareness. It brings hopefully eventual close to the actual horrible thing that happened. It could bring closure to that. But there is a darker side of that. And I need to really talk to you about it. And listen, I'm a true crime girl. Love true crime. It's my jam. But a lot of times when we're talking about true crime, very often the case is either wrapped up or people are still missing. And, you know, it's kind of like, hey, if you have any information, let us know. It becomes a problem when people start to insert themselves when it isn't viable to have that insertion. And if you've looked at the news, and this is why, please, my God, be careful of everything that you see and hear and everything in general. Make sure that you do your own research on it. And, you know, people have been spotting Brian from Canada to the Bahamas to the reserves to the front yard. Like, everybody has spotted him. And I'm using that loosely, and I'm not saying that they haven't. But people want to insert themselves in certain things to sort of be part of, so that here it is. It's not just that it's narcissism, but when you insert yourself into a case, you also want to be a part of the solution. So in theory, it's a really good thing because you're like, oh my God, I want to come out. I want to solve it. I'm pretty sure I saw him, which is great. You must say something. Say something. I would rather you say something and it be nothing than say nothing and it be something, right? But here is where you want to be cautious, and be cautious on the things in which you hear, because people will insert themselves and then almost add things, or then they will start to do various things. And I'll give you an example of that. So I just saw recently, and it was on, I can't remember what it was on, but it was on something on a news thing that I was reading in some of the articles, because I get a lot of like true crime stuff, but then I get it like kind of on the underground, like where it's more from officials than it would be from, say, layman people. But I was looking at something where this is how, not everything is something. Let's be very clear on that. Not everything that Gabby put on her Instagram was a cry for help. Not everything. Okay. And I'm not saying that this was or wasn't, but I want to be very clear. So back in January, she made a post on her Instagram when she was listening to the Morbid podcast. Great podcast. So she was listening to the Morbid podcast, and she put like a knife emoji. Because I mean, it's true crime, knife, gun, axe, rope. I mean, it could be a couple things. Put that there. And people are like, was this an ominous cry for help? I mean, I don't think it was, right? Now, only she would know that. But in this situation, in any other situation, not just in true crime, but in your real life, stop looking for everything to be something. Oh my God, this means fill in the blank. This means fill in the blank. So you want to be careful when you are inserting yourself in cases and asking yourself, okay, is this valid? Is this something that it could be something? And it very well could be, but you want to be careful what you breathe life into. Now, with all of that being said, I want to talk to you about this specific clip.
Been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
I was distracting him from driving. I am sorry. So as a person who does this for a profession, right, and who has been through certain things, I will tell you that is her way of protecting him without realizing it. She may not even realize that that's what she's doing. In that place, when she says, I am sorry, I was distracting him from driving. And if you heard the beginning part of that clip, she's crying, she's upset. And he's like, I'm sorry, I hit that bump right there. Well, it's called a curb, first of all. I hit that bump. Now, you didn't hit a bump, you hit a curb. So that's already a red flag for me to go, okay, so either you're under some intoxication or there's something else going on, right? And her saying, I'm sorry, I was distracting him from driving, is a very classic symptom and thing to do when you are in a really problematic relationship. It just is. And because she's trying so hard to, I guess, make it work and make it seem like, you know what, it's not him. And depending on if the reports, this is all hearsay, about his, she did say episodes, but about his episodes or his erratic or his jealousness, that's where that bond comes of like, oh my gosh, okay, I don't want him to be mad. And that's that walking on eggshells. So this to me was the first sign that if I would have pulled him over, so to speak, I'm not blaming anybody either. I'm just saying what I would have done. That would have been like a red flag. I'd have been like, okay, which I do think that it started out that way as well. So let's go to this next clip.
Some days I have really bad OCD, and
Okay.
I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, I'm sorry that I'm so mean, because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him, I just like, I guess my vibe is like, I am really like in a bad mood. And I was just saying, I'm sorry if I'm in a bad mood. I've just been really stressed. I had so much work I was doing on my computer this morning.
What do you do for a living?
I used to work at an organic juice bar, but I just quit my job.
Okay.
I was a nutritionist. That's my
That's
job.
cool.
And I just quit my job to travel across the country. And I'm trying to start a blog. I just have a blog and stuff. So I've been building my website. So I've just been really stressed. And he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it, so that's kind of been like I don't know, he's like down there, I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning, and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
Why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because of
told
your
me
OCD?
He told me I needed to calm down.
Oh boy. Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. So we're going to stay here for a hot minute. So there's a lot I want to talk about this. So first of all, you can hear the anxiety in her voice. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure this out. She's very upset. She has said, I have OCD. Now, immediately when she says that, she goes into like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I have OCD in so many ways. I'm sorry that I'm this way. And I'm sorry, like, I know it's uncomfortable for everybody. And, I'm really sorry. If you hear it in her voice, she's struggling in her own mind of her own stuff, right? So in her mind, it's automatically her fault regardless. So maybe it's not her, but let's take a parallel person. And let's not say her, because she's not here for us to ask her how she feels. So let's say it's a parallel person in a similar situation. That person already says, oh my God, it's my fault that I have this mental disorder. And it's OCD, right? So this is my fault. And God, I'm so sorry. And, I can't believe I had that. And, all of these things. So number one, let's be very clear here. When you have an emotional disorder of any way, or a ADHD, anything like that, that is not your fault to be walking around apologizing for. Now, getting help for it, right? Getting help, being in therapy, doing life coaching, being mindful. Of course, that is absolutely your responsibility to do, right? That is absolutely your responsibility to do. But you don't apologize, okay? Now, the alarming part was then another part of this is when she said, yeah, I'm starting, I quit my job. Good for her. Like, great. She's like, I'm going to live my dreams. I'm going to be a van life and I'm going to vlog this. Oh my God, that's amazing, right? Problematic part. This is where the partner, Brian, says, according to her, she says, he's not really supportive and he doesn't think that I can do it, which means there's a level there that, number one, there could be a level of sabotage that would come with that. So again, we're taking a parallel person, not her specifically, but I'm saying in your life. If this is you and you are trying to start something new in people, not even just a partner, but people don't believe in what you're doing, you want to establish why those people are in your life. Now, I understand, again, we're not talking about her, we're talking about you here. It's not as easy as just like walking out and leaving, but you got to start by getting the help. You got to start by talking about it, and you got to realize this is not your fault, period. Okay? So people are not always going to support you. Everybody in your corner right now, everybody that you see, not in your corner, everybody you see on your socials, everybody you see in life, they're not necessarily your cheerleaders. They're actually waiting for you to fall so they can look and be like, They really are. And sadly, sometimes it's family and sometimes it's partners. So one of the big problematic part here was that, well, there's several with this whole entire case, but one being she's apologizing for having OCD and her anxiety is very high. You can hear it in her voice, right? And then you flip that and then she's like, well, this is what I want to do, but he's not really supportive of it. And we're going to talk more about like what the word on the street is about his jealousy and things like that. But again, you want to take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, and so that's a big part. Now the officer in this case is okay, let me separate you guys. Good move. Absolutely do that. Put some distance to lower the temperature a little bit. So let's go into the next clip.
But she just gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her. So like I lock the car and I walk away from her. What happened this morning is that she's trying to start up like her own little website blog and everything. So I give her time, and we really had a nice morning, if anything, but she just got worked up because we were trying to get going and get our day going because we want to go like arches before this stuff.
Okay. You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away, because she wanted I locked the keys so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather and let's not go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute because she was getting really worked up. And then she had her phone and was trying to get the keys to me, so I got away. I was just trying to. I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her away to go, let's just take a minute, step back and breathe.
So much more to unpack here. Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, if you listen to how his conversation went with the officer, if you hear how everything is very calm, you know what? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. You know what? She was just freaking out. And, I was telling her, hey, we should really take a breather right now. And I don't for 1 second under any circumstances believe that he was the cooler head that prevailed. I've seen it a million times in current life. And no, I don't think that was the case at all. Can I verify that? Can I guarantee it? I wasn't in the car. I can't do that. But I can tell you based on some past history of some of my clients, I am pretty sure he was not that calm. I am pretty sure he wasn't like, oh, babe, you're freaking out. I got you. Let's take a minute. Not in the least bit. Now, I don't think that the officer bought into that either, because you could kind of hear it in his voice, like, yeah, sure. Yeah, she's the crazy one, not you. You're calm. Like, yeah, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And if you heard him when he was talking about her vlog and everything, he was like, a little website and everything. She's just trying to set it up, and already very dismissive of it, because maybe he doesn't understand it. Maybe he doesn't want her to have it. Could be a number of things that come into play. And then when he asks about hitting the curb, you heard him say, well, Gabby pulled the wheel. Okay, maybe she did. I mean, maybe they were fighting. You don't know. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But even the officer said, well, okay, that's fine. But when you were speeding, did she take over the pedal too? Which I like that he called him out on it. And then if you heard him, he said, oh, no. I mean, I'm sorry. If I was speeding, I'm sorry. Oh, and if I was speeding before then, I'm sorry. And this is also classic. Again, paralleling this into real world. So I'm not talking about them specifically, but paralleling this into the real world real world meaning like here, like you and I, that's not a real world. It absolutely is, but I'm saying within us, and understanding that in that space, very often when you are in a relationship or you are in a friendship, it doesn't have to be just a love relationship where it's problematic and narcissist and scary and some abuse allegations are there as well. When that happens, very often, those people seem like shiny, beautiful pennies to everybody else in the world. There are people that I have, clients that I have worked with, that have gone through wicked domestic abuse. On the outside, oh my God, they're the best family ever. On the outside, the person who is the perpetrator, right, is so kind to everybody else. Oh my God, they are the best people on the planet. Give you the shirt off the back till they come home, right? So just keep in mind, when I'm listening and watching this whole body cam footage, I am literally going, it's so cringeworthy to me, because I just panic so much for her and I wish that they would have grabbed her. But you know what? You can't live in the past, right? You can't say I wish or they should have or why didn't they? But this is where we are now, right? But I'm telling you, because going forward, this is something good for you to be aware of, not just in your relationship, but other people's relationships. Here's the caveat to that. You can't make somebody leave a situation. I'm sorry, you can't. And because the person has to see it. And sometimes when they're in that, often when they are in that situation, they can't see the help on the way out, right?
I'll say crisscross applesauce, but can I just sit in the shade because I'm bald? It's okay. I'll give you some shade. Sound good? All right, just hang tight for me.
And I don't know if you guys caught this, and I guess because I'm so hyper vigilant of it, but he sits down, right? They sit him down, and it's out in the sun. I get it. It's Utah. It's hot as hell. I understand. And he says, hey, you know what? Like, I'm a little warm. Can I please sit in the shade? Like, really? So that already to me was a red flag. Not that it wasn't abnormal for him to ask that question, but on top of everything else leading up to this space, it would have been like, okay, I need to go a little deeper in this, because he's in the middle of like a domestic and he's gotten pulled over and he's like, you know what? That's cool that I'm sitting here, but you know what? I need a little shade. That's why the guy's like, yeah, I'll give you shade. And when he did that in the video, he like stands in front of him like, I'll give you shade. Like, no, you don't. You're not going to get shade. So just keep that in mind, because there's going to be things that are very subtle, but when you know them, you know them. And when you treat them, you know them. So that to me was like, okay, no, sit down. Like, sit down.
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
And then what? And his reaction was to do what?
It's going to be out of Florida.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, but I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth. If he actually hit you. Because, where did he hit you? Don't worry. Be honest. Did he slap your face or what?
She was hyperventilating.
She's
a little
saying
bit.
that they don't drink, but at the point when you lit them up,
They don't drink or anything.
She started hitting him.
Yeah, I was yelling at him, and then when you turned your lights on, I like kind of punched his arm like there's no just an idiot.
she's saying why he hit the curb. You said it was Gabby?
Now I know that was a little hard to hear her, but I wanted to kind of have the officer in there so you could kind of understand some questions. So at this point, she's sitting in the back of the car because they separated her to put her in the shade in the car. So they did give her shade. That was good. And then the officer's asking like, hey, like kind of saying, hey man, like, let us know, like, did he hit you? What's going on? Like, it's okay. Like, you could tell us. And she goes, well, he didn't really like hit me. You mean, so he slapped you? And she goes, no, he didn't really do that either. Like, but he kind of like grabbed her face. You know how you'd like take your thumb and then your four other fingers in between somebody's face and you kind of grab it. But if you heard her, she was talking about it and she was kind of she wanted to tell the truth and then her truth. And then she backtracked it because she didn't want to make him have any of the blame. And again, very, very, very classic.
Did you grab the steering wheel?
No, I didn't.
You did not touch the steering wheel?
I didn't touch the steering wheel, but only for like a second because I just saw the lights come on and it was more just like, you're an idiot. Like, you know.
But did you grab the steering wheel and like swerve or anything like that?
No. I didn't touch the steering wheel at all.
Did you grab the steering wheel? No, I did not. Boom, right there. No, you did not. Now, you just had the one story that we're blaming her. She said no. I get it. It's a he said, she said. But let's look at the trajectory of the people that you're talking to. You have one person who's highly visibly anxiety riddled, and you have another person who's oddly calm. Okay. I understand cooler heads prevail. Not everybody can be like falling apart at the same time, but it's just super problematic. And, you know, she did ask for a water. He asked, you know, do you want more air here? You know, all of those. But if you hear what she said, she's like, yeah, I just hit him in the arm for like a minute because, you know, we're getting pulled over. And I mean, you know what? Cooler heads didn't necessarily prevail there because I'm not sure why he hit that curb. And if you believe him, it's because she pulled. And if you believe her, we don't know why he hit the curb. So this is why cases, when you don't know all of the facts, and it's going to be really hard to know the facts because nobody was in the car with them but the two of them. So it doesn't really matter so much about that. But I just want you to hear how she's saying, she's doing her part and she's trying to really minimize any concern or stress that she has with him.
Started at the beginning, well, I don't want to go too far back, but we've been in Beyond Land for the past like week or so.
Now, that right there, again, another red flag for me is, hey, you know what? I don't want to start too far back. Like, I'm going to give you the information I'm comfortable giving you, or my version of my comfort of giving you. Literally said, hey, listen, I don't want to start too far back. What? We have people with marks on them. Somebody is falling apart in the other car because they're hysterically upset. You seem oddly okay. People are hitting curbs. And let's bring up why they got pulled over in the first place. Somebody had said, there was a witness that said that they saw him hit her. Later on, they said they just saw him push her. So this has been led up. This wasn't just like, hey, we're just going to go pull him over. This was brought up, right? So again, we're going to talk about this in just a few minutes about leading up to it and what you can do in your own life to be aware of some of these red flags. But the moment I heard him say, hey, listen, you know what? Like, I don't want to start too far back. No, you'll start where I want you to start and that to me was another giant red flag in this.
The flies here are like pretty intense, so the flies have definitely been getting to her. And then my feet are dirty and everything, so I think that our little squabble started because we were hanging out at the coffee shop, and when we got back to the van, there was some dirt and stuff in the van, and I moved our food around, it was a little disorganized, so she gets a little, we take those.
So the flies are bad there. Okay, been there. I understand flies are obnoxious. They've been getting to her. His feet are dirty. Okay, yeah. So at least we are aware of that. We know she has OCD. She said it by her own admission. Yes, those things can definitely bother her and irritate her. And they were at the coffee shop from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. My guess was her editing and things like that on her blog and on her vlog. So... But it's interesting how, again, he's taking zero ownership on his part whatsoever. Hey, listen, you know what? She's a little messed up because this is why our little squabble has happened. Again, minimizing it, invalidating it. Oh, it's just endless here.
I don't know if you're in a relationship, but I'm sure
I've been married for over 5 years now. So.
There's a lot of little things. Right?
Yeah, I can go.
And
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is also extremely classic. Do you hear the relatability? Hey, you know what? Like, I don't know if you're in a relationship, but are you? And the officer's like, well, yeah, I am. Oh, well, you know how it is. Well, yeah, actually, I do. So this is where you are what we call relating. You are relating. You are becoming relatable. You are becoming more believable. You are becoming the person that's holding most of the credit, right? Think about how much time is which he's spending with him, and there's a lot of relatability. Now, I do not fault the officer on this because they're also trying to get information, and at this point, they are going to engage a bit. So I don't fault them at all, but I want you to see from this perspective, that's very normal. That's, hey, you know what? Like, we're the same, you know? And so that sways the person's perception of you.
I'm fine, and I love Gabby. I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me.
You don't take any medications or anything like that? Okay. Are you normally this kind of like hyper?
Do I see my heart rate up? Whenever the lights flash on, it gets your heart rate up. If I see my...
Trust me, it does me too, and I'm the one that it gets me going a little bit.
You probably
too.
can say, hey buddy, whenever somebody walks up.
So, okay. Yeah, do you know if she takes any?
She's crazy.
Alrighty, so we have a lot to unbox here, and then that's it for the clips because I want to take it further. So as you can hear in there, even the officer's like, hey, I mean, you're a little hyper. And he says, well, yeah, I mean, I just got pulled over. Now, part of me understands that, right? Anytime I go past a police officer for some odd reason, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong subconsciously for a hot minute, and it can be a little alarming. So fine, I'll give you a pass on that. But it is one of those things where listen to the end thing where he says, or in the beginning of this clip, where he was like, yeah, I mean, I love her. I hope she don't have too much to complain about me. You know, because it's that level of power and control. And he's trying to assert that across the board. And then at the end, they asked him if he took medicine. He said no, because officers were like, why are you so hyper so much? And he gave the explanation of being pulled over. And then at the end, they asked if she took medication. He goes, no, she's crazy, right? Which, okay, let's unbox all of this and let's really put this into execution here. So let me explain. And this is going to be an unpopular thing for the people who are like Fry Brian. And I'm not saying that he should not, if in fact he's responsible for her murder, he should absolutely pay. But I also want to talk about everybody's involvement in this. And I want now remind you, you know, they're not here in front of us. I'm just telling you what I see and what I'm used to seeing, and where there's a pattern here. Number one, there's a classic sign of narcissism, gaslighting, manipulation on his part with her. And I'm not saying, let's be very clear, I'm not saying she's never done anything and she's complete. Nobody's saying that. But what I am saying is I want to look at his role for a second from what we know just from those clips. I mean, that's his voice. I'm not making it up. And why that's so important is because you can tell he's agitated, or at least I can tell he's agitated. I can tell he's a little like, to me, he seems a little manic. So to me, I would say, oh my goodness, he's a little manic here. Let's chat about it. And he's trying to figure it out. And you can kind of see he's trying to maintain his composure, but you can tell that in my opinion only, he's very manic here. And so I look at that, and from what her friend has said, what Gabby's friend has said, is that Gabby had said in the past that he's had episodes. I'm using that in quotations. And these episodes could be maybe a little manic, maybe something different. I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed with anything. He says by his own admission he's not on any medication, and he is known to have had episodes according to Gabby. So to me, this is like, okay, this is where the mental health breakdown in the whole world is, honestly, because I understand everybody can't be walking around policing everybody and going, oh my God, you need mental health. You need mental health. You got to get your mental health because you got to check yourself. But first you have to know that you have something that you need to work through. And sometimes in that spiral, you don't necessarily feel that you have anything to work through, that it's everybody else, right? Now, also, there's been reports that he was very jealous, and that she's had to stay with her friend a few times because, you know, they needed a little cool off period. So this isn't brand new. We didn't just get here. Like, this isn't like, oh my God, I can't believe that this happened. I don't think a lot of people were surprised about, I'm not talking about the murder. I'm talking about the thing in which they saw on the clip of the body cam footage, which is courtesy here of the police, the Moab County Police Department. So, and that's a really important thing here, because what you don't realize is, yes, there's some facts here. The fact is Gabby is murdered. And the only reason I say murdered is because the police said that. I did not say that the police said that it's a homicide. So we know for a fact, in fact, she was murdered. We know for a fact that was their van when the people saw it in the park. Okay. So there's a few facts here. Now it gets a little gray. And this is where you got to be really careful on all of the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You got to be careful what you're seeing. And you got to be careful because we're dealing with mental health too. And people can only see what they see, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, right? Right now, Brian's not in custody. Brian's not found. Brian is not around us, right? That's a fact. Nobody knows where he is, right? Well, I personally believe that that's not entirely true, but for the most part, let's go with the fact that nobody knows where he is. So you can only go by so much. But let's talk about the fact that if in fact he is on the lam and he's out fleeing, that's also a narcissistic trait to be like, you know what? I can do this. Nobody can catch me. And there's some reports that he posted something on Instagram basically saying, don't look for me. Again, all hypothetical. And he did go live, or somebody went live from potentially a ferry. And John Walsh said that from America's Most Wanted, when he was on America's Most Wanted, he said that there's been some rumblings of him being in the Bahamas, which would lend some credibility to, in fact, if he was live for those 3 seconds on Instagram, it did look like he was on a boat. But that's besides the point. That's the criminal side of it. But from the mental side of it, the fact that, especially if he's in an episode, now this could be a very long one. And you can go in and out of them, and there could be other things that are contributed to that. He could have also had a mental psychotic snap. There could have been a lot of things that gone into play there, if in fact he's responsible for this. I want to preface it by saying that. And so understanding that it's the mental health on this side of it. She's embarrassed about her OCD, right? She's like, oh my God, I have OCD. I'm really sorry about it. Okay, remember, that's okay. It's okay that she had OCD. The problem is that she had OCD, and then by all things that I have seen, okay, it's very narcissistic, very gaslighty, very manipulative on his point. That's just what I saw. Again, my opinion. And so you want to be really careful because that is a mental illness. So the abuser still has a mental issue too. And I think people forget that, and they look at the victim because, I mean, obvious reasons. But let's remember here, there's a lot of parties involved. You have the victim, you have possibly the perpetrator, or regardless, Brian's involved somewhere. You have his parents, you have her parents, you have neighbors, you have friends, you have the fact that they were fighting. That's a fact. They were fighting at this restaurant and it got really heated and they were asked to leave. Okay. So these are all things leading up to it. So on top of the domestic side of it, you have the emotional side of it. And so many people right now are going through a parallel situation as far as the mental and the abuse and the dysfunctional relationships. So many people are going through that and they don't know where to go. And let me tell you, it's not going to be in silence. You cannot heal in silence. And I know that there is a level of fear that comes with it. Fear because you don't know what that person or persons could possibly do. And I 100% validate that because we've seen it a million times. We've seen people get restraining orders. We've seen that. That doesn't always work. But I promise you this, that you got to reach out to someone. You got to. There are protections in place. There are protections in place. I know, not always, and I see it, and it's awful, but there are ways of helping. Now, in hindsight, which is irrelevant because it's done, but towards the end of that, and I didn't even bother playing it, but towards the end of it, the officers were basically like, hey, do you really want to write this up? Like, we could charge them, or we could just let them go and separate them for the night. So they did the easy way out. In my opinion, personal opinion, I think they totally dropped the ball on this one. They started off really good. There were glimpses of it. I'm not knocking them for anything. I'm just saying I think they dropped the ball on this one because it was going to be more hassle than it was. And the problem too that I have is because she was erratic in their mind. She was sad. She was crying. She was the hysterical one. And he was calm, cool, and collected. She's just crazy. And you know what? She just needs a little time to cool off. This is a problem in mental health. Just because you see somebody that looks like they're calm and somebody who looks like they're erratic doesn't mean that both of them are not suffering. Doesn't mean both of them are not struggling. So in your life, when you're looking around, and remember this too, if you see something, say something, but you also can't be that person. right? But if you see something like that, like they reported it from the restaurant, the guy who said that they saw him hit her, which turned out to maybe not be a hit or a push or something, called 911. If you see something, say something. Because if you don't say something, well, that's kind of on you too, right? And the reason we don't say anything is because we don't want to get involved. That's the mental side of that. Oh my God, I don't want to get involved. Like in the beginning, I told you there's people who automatically want to insert themselves. And then there's people who are like, oh shit, no, I didn't see it. Nope, not getting involved with this one, which I understand both of those. Nothing is wrong here. It's just the process. But you are one step away from saving people. And there's some statistics out there that say in your life, you will run into about 5 serial killers, right? There's some statistics that say this. And I believe that. Now, I'm not saying you're going to walk around and you'll be like, oh my God, hi, Ted Bundy. Like, no, you don't know who lives next to you. You don't know who sleeps in the bed next to you a lot of times. You don't know a lot of those things. This is not to create paranoia, by the way. But these things about avoiding getting help or feeling bad about having OCD or depression or anxiety, no. Guess what? We're all walking around this planet with something. We all got something. I don't care who it is on the planet. It might not be a psychotic break. We all got something. We all got shit with us, right? And understanding that also when you see the silence of people, it becomes problematic. Now I know that his parents have gotten an enormous amount of flack. So I definitely want to talk about this. Now, it is extremely easy to be like, oh my God, absolutely not. If that was my kid, I would turn him in. I would know what to do. Yes, we would all like to say that that's exactly what we would do. Pretty sure some of us would do it. You don't know. But at the end of the day, you don't know, are they suffering with a mental illness? Are they? Are they not? Are they being protective over their kid? Maybe. Are they, where are they in this role? We don't know. But we know one thing, that he was home there, and then supposedly reportedly the neighbors saw them all going camping. So they go, oh my God, how could somebody do that? Like, how could you protect that? And in theory, we would all love to say we would never do that. We would totally turn them in. We'd be totally cooperative. You don't know what you would do. And I gotta say that because right, wrong, or indifferent, they took action of the way they took action. Again, not saying you have to agree with it, not saying you have to rock with it or roll with it, but they did that. Now they have to figure it out, whatever means, whatever they know or don't know. At this point, that's on them. They got to figure it out. Sure, if it's come to fruition that they know exactly where he is, well, there's a repercussion behind that. But it's not for you to establish that repercussion, right? And so that's the thing. And then with her parents, they're still dealing with it. And then now they have to feel some kind of way because, reportedly, I don't know that the stepfather was all that keen on him. So, this becomes a whole round robin. So in your life right now, ask yourself, now listen, not every relationship is a toxic relationship when you don't get along. Okay. That's called living with somebody. So I don't want you to just all of a sudden look at everything and be like, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. Okay, calm down. But what is not okay is she said, I'm starting this YouTube and this vlog, and she's really excited about it and she's adorable and you could see it. Well, reportedly, he in the past has been very jealous, took her phone, did a lot of things. That's not okay. In no situation is that okay. Nope, not okay. So if you are in a situation right now where you're struggling with mental illness or a mental situation and you feel bad about it or you're made to feel bad about it, that is a red flag. Absolutely a red flag. Make sure you're talking to your therapist, to your doctor, to someone. It's not okay. Now, this doesn't mean that just because somebody doesn't understand your anxiety, that they're a problem. Because the other side of that coin, this is why you want to be careful. The other side of that coin is just because you have anxiety doesn't mean everybody has to walk around on eggshells with you. And that's imperatively important for you to get, right? So there is a fine line, and I don't want this to ever create a paranoia. I just want you to create awareness, okay? If you are constantly looking at where you are to blame, listen, 2 people in a relationship, 2 people hold accountability, period, okay? But when you are constantly in that space and you're made to feel bad and you're made to feel less than and you're made to not feel good enough, I really, really want you to reach out. And I really, really, really want you to make sure that you understand that that is not okay. And that is not something that you have to put up with. And a number that you can call is 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 7233. I will put it in the show notes in the description here. 1-800-799-7233. The beautiful thing is, if you go on thehotline.org, I'll put a link to it, thehotline.org, you have the option to call it, to chat, and to text. Okay? It's free. It's confidential. And it's like there's a plan for safety that they can put in play. You 100% are not alone in this. Now, when it comes to the emotional side of it, you are not a definition of your mental disorder. You're not a definition of it. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you a bad person. Okay. This is so imperative that you understand that, because I will say this, you will feel alone. You will feel like nobody could possibly understand it the way you do. And that's not true. And now the suicide prevention hotline can also help if you are in peril. And that number is 1-800-273-8255. And understanding that getting help for your mental health and how you feel and your worries and your concerns, it never makes you weak. It doesn't make you less than, and it feels overwhelming. I understand. But I promise you this, there are people out there for you. I'm here. I can only do so much. But call the hotline, talk to your doctor, get yourself informed, and understand that what you can't do is you can't fix people. You can't sit and say, hopefully they'll see how good I am. That is an absolute manipulative tactic from a narcissist abuser. And in that place, when you are on the other end of a narcissist or a manipulator, which often go hand in hand, it can become problematic because you definitely look at what you're doing wrong. What are you doing wrong? You can't possibly be better than anybody with anybody other than them because they're doing you this big favor. Why? Because you're told this all the time. And I promise you that that's not the fact, right? It's scary and you feel alone, but you're not alone. And, when it comes to Gabby's family, I have both of their families. I'm going to keep it real. Both of their families, I have so much love and empathy. And I know some don't have empathy for his family, but at the end of the day, they are in this too. Whether it's their kids' admission and of guilt and whether they helped, at the end of the day, they're still part of this. But I will say the amount of empathy that I have for Gabby. Now, I also want to piggyback on this really quickly and very importantly. This has also brought a lot of things to light. And you might have heard of white woman syndrome. And white woman syndrome is where there are so many people that are in this world right now that are indigenous, that are black and brown people, and of other races that have been missing right now. Like they're missing right now. They have been reported missing and they might have gotten a blink of an eye on the news. Oh, well, this person's missing. Oh, if you have any news, hey, call this person. All right. And now into weather. That's not okay. And the reason it's called white woman syndrome is that you've seen it with Natalie Holloway. You've seen it with other people. And it becomes problematic because, you look at them and they look sort of like, your regular earthy, crunchy kind of people. And hey, let's really talk about it. And they should get the coverage. I'm happy they have it. But so should everybody else walking around. So should everybody else whose family and who are going through this exact same struggle. It is not okay that this is selective. It is not. And until we get very clear on that as a society, we will always have problems. We will always have problems. Because I'm pretty sure that had that been a different situation, different color, different situation, I think that case would have went down totally different. I really, truly do. And it's sad, but I do. And so understand that while you know her name, make sure you know everybody else's name. Get yourself extremely familiar with it. Understand that it's not just one person that's okay for. That's where we've decided, that's where there's been such a divide, and there will always remain one until we can understand that just because somebody is a different complexion or a different gender, that does not mean that they do not deserve the same attention in which we should all have on that same level. I understand that's like a dream, that's a wish. This is deeper here. Like, this is not okay, and it's grossly disgusting. And so understand that while you know her name, and you should, please make sure that you're familiarizing yourself in all of the communities and where people are missing and where things have happened, because it's literally something in which everybody is affected by. No one is affected more importantly, if you are living with a narcissist, whether you're white, black, brown, green, yellow, pink, purple, you deserve that same support. You deserve that same support. Now, I'm one who tells you are owed that. And I don't think that you're owed much in life. You're really not. People aren't owed things by people. But when I say owed it, I'm saying if this is going to be something in which we are going to highlight one person, we better make sure that we're doing that consistently across the board. And if there is a silver lining, because I'm the silver lining girl, I'm the positivity experience, people, this is what you get, is under no circumstances is what I'm going to say, meaning that I'm glad that she has been found dead. No. But what I will say is we got to find the silver lining, because if you don't, you're going to stay in this hole. And the silver lining of that is maybe that is what's happening. Maybe that is what's happening. It is bringing up, people are irate because of the lack of coverage. So what has happened? More coverage has happened. And that's good. It's bringing OCD. It's bringing emotional issues to the surface for people to get help. Great. That's a silver lining. It's bringing a narcissistic relationship to the forefront. Great. That's a silver lining. Now, we hope that there's a better outcome towards the end, and whatever has happened, we hope that there's justice served. I believe that there will be, personally. Okay? May not be the way you think it's going to be, but I believe that it will be done, and I think it'll be done sooner than you think it will. So that's a good thing. But we're not there now. We're here in this podcast at this moment. But understand that you are important. You are relevant. You are valuable. What you are experiencing it's deserving of being able to be looked at, to give you the tools in which you need to see the power in which you have. You have the power to find peace in your life. But there will always be people who will try to pull you down. There will always be people who are on your socials who smile in your face and pull you down because they want to see you fail. There will always be that in your life. So you can't live your life thinking that will never happen. But it's being aware of it so you know how you can change the people in your life. And remember this, you can't change the people in your life, but you can change the people in your life. You're like, what? Let me repeat it. You can't change the people in your life. You can't make them do things, but you can change the people in your life. You can change the role in which they play. So this was a really long podcast. I mean, I was used to doing an hour podcast when I did true crime. If you want me to sort of resurrect the amateur investigator, we can. It is something that I enjoy doing and bringing things to light, but you guys, I love you guys, and I'm so happy that I get to talk to you guys every week and that you tune in. There's so many places you could be in the world, but you spend your time with me, and I appreciate you so much. And please consider following me on all of the socials. On TikTok, I'm Lori Wheeler. On Instagram, I'm official Lori Wheeler. I have a Facebook page for the Positivity Experience. So yeah, I mean, let's vibe, guys. I talk to clients all over the world. I'm here for it. And if you want specific topics, please jump in the Positivity Experience Facebook group and put some topics in there in which you'd like for me to discuss. And if you want more like this, I know it's a little true crimey, but if you are interested, maybe every now and again I can throw in maybe a case, present or past, and utilize it from the mental perspective, because that is kind of what I do anyway. But yeah, just let me know. I don't want to start changing up formats, but I love you guys. And remember, you matter. There's help out there for you. All of the links will be put in the show notes here. I appreciate you guys. And remember, you always have the power. Check it out.